Great to have you here. Welcome to this video. Today we're tackling a very, very important topic again because it's starting up once more. The sun is shining, very, very warm temperatures, nice for washing, but it's not always the best for the paint surface. And the big topic of water spots is starting up again. And to make sure you start the 2025 season with the right products, I've brought you the WSR, the Water Spot Remover from ADBL with the scent of wild strawberry. And we'll look at it again today in this video because it's right here on my E46 hood, Water Spot Alert. I'll show you that in just a moment. And I'll give you a few tips and tricks on how to use it perfectly. Let's get started, have fun. So here we have the annoying problem. I think you all know this too. Maybe you've been at the wrong self-service box once. Or maybe you've also had extremely hard water at home and didn't pay attention while drying. And then it looks just like this here as it does for me. And if you go over here, you can see that the water spots don't come off either. They always form a very light layer of limescale. You can maybe wipe away a bit in the middle, but you can see the edges are completely set already. And if you go over it here, you have absolutely no chance of getting it off in any way. So it's really massively burned into the paint, so to speak. A big disadvantage with ceramic coatings. I mean, if you have a spray wax, you can quickly apply it again. But if you have a ceramic coating or a really, really elaborate sealant, you really have to be careful. That's another big disadvantage of these, let's say, long-term elaborate sealants. You really have to make sure that something like this doesn't happen, because when it burns in, you have real difficulties. That's why here, water spots, massively burned in. We're going to remove that now with the water spot remover. And I can tell you one thing, with that amount, it's definitely a bit of work. And the best advice I can give you is don't let it get that far in the first place, because this is really a very, very annoying problem, especially if you're dealing with very hard water. With such a large surface, you really need to plan a bit of time. It's not just a matter of spraying it on, blasting it off, and done. It really depends on how big the stains are or how large the area of the stain is. You can spray it on the surface, let it sit for a moment, and then wipe it with a cloth. But I want to show you a second method now. So just shake the product briefly, either directly on the surface or adjust the spray pattern to be a bit finer. You don't need huge amounts either. You don't have to apply it here so that it runs down. Then a few sprays on an applicator. The paint surface should logically be clean as well. And now I have the tough case here. If you only have a few small spots, you can really just do it spot by spot, of course. And afterwards, you definitely need to rinse the product off with water. So you shouldn't just polish it out like that. You can do that from a small spot. But if you're working on such a large area like I am now, I would always recommend that afterwards. It's nice to flood it a bit with water or with a pressure sprayer with water and then wipe it with a cloth. Otherwise, you'll have here problems, especially when it sticks to the surface again. So as you can see, I'm not polishing here either. I'm just rubbing over it normally. Now let's rinse that off quickly. Because we always have to make sure that the product is completely off the paint. And now we're just taking a microfiber cloth. And now we're drying the surface off. I'm really just using the water here, nice and relaxed. Down, I'm not even intentionally rubbing over it. But a very simple cloth. And when the paint is completely dry here, you can already see, are these spots completely gone. Of course, the hood on this side isn't done yet, polished. So let's let it dry a bit more, and then you'll see here, the water spots are completely gone. It's really like that in this case. From my perspective, when you have everything completely full here with water spots, you see over here, it continues completely. I'll show you that again with the cloth. Let's move over here. But with the applicator, that's my method. If you want to do it really properly, it works very well. If they've been on here for weeks and months, it might be that you need to polish them off. But it should really be very, very much with the word of the postage. You can get very far. They've been on here for about 6 days now, so you see that again. So here, just a little bit, spray it on the surface. And now I usually have our applicator. Now we're going to take a cloth right away. Spread the cleaner like this. A little on the surface. Let's let it sit for a moment. So you really need to give it a few seconds. It doesn't happen right away, because if we take a look now, do you see this here? You can still see through the cleaner. So wait a few seconds, and that's why you can't just quickly spray the whole car. It will definitely dry on you, so be a bit careful. And what we've just rubbed in front of us with the applicator with a bit of abrasive power, we now need to just replace it with the cloth. And we just go in circular motions without applying too much pressure, just go over it. It's a bit like, how can you compare it? Polishing wax. I don't apply as much pressure as if you were polishing wax, which is a bit tougher on the surface. You can imagine it like this in terms of the pressure I'm applying to the cloth, but really very light. And I've also folded the cloth multiple times. So this isn't about scrubbing hard on the surface, but really just taking it easy, go over it. So now rinse it off briefly with water. Now I'm going to take a different tool, specifically the drying glove. Very gently here. It definitely makes it a bit more effective, even though the paint is completely unsealed here on the side. But you can already see here, without applying too much pressure, just wipe the water off, let a bit of air in. And then, is everything already completely dry again? And water spots looks good, right? It's not polished, just keep that in mind. The paint looks like crap right now, but the water spots have definitely come off really well. And that's how we can do it. Just two methods, the same product, two different tools. I have to say I'm getting along really well with the applicator. And for small spots, you can also just, if this is just your area, take a damp cloth, wipe the cleaner off a bit with the damp cloth, and then go over it with a dry cloth. You don't necessarily have to rinse everything with water, but it makes sense for me right now. So it's definitely good to do. Let's take another look from above. Yeah, the paint definitely needs a good polish, but you can see the water spots are completely gone. And up there, here, you can still see through everywhere, even though there's already a bit of water on it. So a good product, in my opinion, is easy to use and works well. With such a large hood, I might split it up. First one side, then the other side. If you're in a relatively mild climate right now, and it's not like 30 degrees outside, then you might even be able to do the whole hood. But make sure that the products don't dry out. Of course, it also works on glass. Basically, this applies to all surfaces on the vehicle. Also there, let it sit for a moment. I don't think there's a specified exposure time here. Just spray it on, pay attention to the temperature exactly, and then spread it out and polish it off with a cloth, so just wipe it off. That's why I think ADBL doesn't put a time on it here, because it will be a bit different for everyone. If it doesn't come off after several minutes of exposure time and without drying, then it's really serious. Burned into the clear coat, then you need to use a polishing machine. But this should definitely be in every home for those who have to deal with hard water, whether it's for the B-box or at home. Until then, thank you very much for watching. And now one more question, whether this dissolves your sealants. We can definitely take another look at that in another video. Have fun, see you next time. A little tip about water spots. So what's up? Hey,